Hey everybody, it's Ruby here today, and I thought that I would do my August wrap-up and September to be read. So my August wrap-up is going to be extremely short, mostly because of one book in particular that I'm reading. So let's just get to it. So the first book is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. This is a book that I did a review on, so I will link that down below. This is a book that is science fiction fantasy book about a person who visits a planet where all of the citizens are androgynous for most of the month, but will turn either male or female for 1 week of the month while they are mating and going through their mating season. This was the main reason that I read the book, but it is also not the main subject of the book. So it is up to you as to whether or not you would like it. Obviously, people like different kinds of books, but as a fantasy book it was pretty interesting and also incredibly confusing. The next book is The Giver that I actually lent to someone, so it is not here with me right now. And that was in preparation for the movie review, so if you want to learn more about the book and or movie, I will link that down below. I feel I've talked about this book so much that I should just have a disclaimer at the bottom saying like a major description from this book because I have talked about it so many times. And lastly is the main reason that this is so short, which is that I started to read War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. This is a book that a couple of other booktubers had done a read-along on. I didn't pick up the same version as them, and I also didn't want to be limited as to how fast I was going to be reading or the pressure of finishing it, just because it's absolutely huge. So that's why it's slightly different. I believe that it is a slightly smaller or shorter version than what a lot of other people are reading. This is 900 pages, while another version that booktubers are reading are like 1,300 pages. But according to the introduction, that also has to do with the fact that Tolstoy did a couple of editions of his book, and this is just one of the editions that he published. So if that's the case, I feel like this is still an accurate version of War and Peace, just a smaller version of it. However, it is a huge and condensed book. I'm finding that I'm reading it at half the speed I normally would, and I'm reading it at a very busy time of my life right now. So I am slowly but surely getting through it. I am almost halfway, as you can tell by the post-it notes, maybe 1/3. And I will definitely be doing a book review on it once I finish. Hopefully it won't be that soon. There should be a couple days where I'll devote most of my attention to this book, but wish me luck. As for my to-be-reads, as I've addressed a couple of times in previous videos, I will be starting university again this fall. I will be starting my 3rd year in psychology, so there's going to be a very intense amount of classes that I'll be taking and intense studying. So I'm not really sure how many books I'll be able to read, but if I get rid of some procrastination, I should be able to finish a couple. So these books are books that I have rewarded myself with, basically. They are books that are going to be easier to read and definitely more along the lines of what I'm generally interested in, whether it's magical realism or speculative fiction. So the first one is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. This is a book that a friend of mine actually analyzed in university, and he said, and I agree with it according to the summary, is a book that is very much geared towards my generation. So it is about technology and easy access to things and all that sort of stuff, so I thought it would be interesting. It's basically about someone who starts working at a 24-hour bookstore, but there's only a few customers and they don't seem to buy anything. So he basically has to figure out what's going on in this bookstore. Thought it was really interesting. I also like the cover because apparently it glows in the dark, and who wouldn't like a glow-in-the-dark book? The next one is Lexicon Mac by Max Berry. This is a book that was in one of the Book Riot packages that people have been getting. I think this is a young adult or general fiction book about people who attend a magical school where they learn the power of words. I thought this was a very interesting concept, just with psycholinguistics and magical realism and all that fun stuff. And I think that it wouldn't be too hard of a read. It looks fairly short and fairly simple in understanding. And after War and Peace, I think that I will be welcoming this kind of book. Last one is something that I might regret mentioning, but we'll see how it goes. This one I picked up and showed in a book haul a couple of months ago. This is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. This is a pretty large tome of a book. This is technically all one book, just different volumes, about two scholars in England who know the theory and practice of magic. So at the moment in England, I believe during this time, the notion of magic exists, but nobody can practice it, and then someone comes along who can. I'm fairly interested in this book because it is also magical realism, but also because it reminds me a lot of academia. The first couple of pages sort of remind me of what happens when people think about things in the abstract, and I have a feeling that this kind of book will be very much for academia and university as well as magic. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to this and if I'll cry while reading it, because it is also a really big book, but I think that it'll be easier to read than War and Peace because it has been broken up into parts and it is not a 900 volume Russian novel about war and the politics of nobility. So that is everything. So I hope you guys are looking forward to how I find these books, and if you have any questions, comments, concern, comment down below, subscribe, like, do your thing, and I will talk to you guys later.